Hello, I'm John Stubbings with Clown Alley Orchids, and one of the things that many customers ask us is where do I cut a Phalaenopsis inflorescence to make the plant rebloom? First, we have to decide if the plant is big enough to cut and have it rebloom. This plant is too small. There isn't enough leaf here to encourage it to rebloom. Instead, we should cut the inflorescence off at the bottom and make the plant grow bigger and better for next year to have more flowers next year. This is the size plant that's large enough to cut the inflorescence to make it rebloom for next year. How are we going to cut the inflorescence, and where are we going to cut the inflorescence? You can see this plant bloomed out here. It had a branch and bloomed out here, and it could have bloomed out before. All along the stem we have nodes. This is a node, this is a node, this is a node where there's a swelling and sort of a texture. There's another node down here. What we're going to do is cut at between two nodes to encourage this to rebloom from one of these nodes, to grow another flower stalk here. This doesn't work all the time. This works maybe half of the time in Phalaenopsis. In most other orchid genera, this will not make it rebloom. When it's bloomed, as in Cattleyas, you cannot get them to rebloom, so you don't want to do this. Okay, what are we going to cut this with? We're going to cut this with a single-edged razor. Why do we do that? There's a brand new razor out of a box, so we know it's sterile. So we know that what we're cutting with cannot transmit viruses from one plant to the next. When we're done doing this cutting, we will not use the same razor to cut another inflorescence. We will either sterilize the razor in a flame, or more practically for home growers, we will just throw this razor blade out and buy a new one, because you can buy boxes of these very inexpensively. Where are we going to cut? We're going to cut between the two nodes. So where you see the dragonfly is one node now. Down here is another node. These are behind where it branched or behind the last blossom, and that's where we want to cut it. How are we going to cut it? We're not going to cut it directly across. We're going to cut it at an angle and about midway between those two nodes. So now we'll go do the cutting. Okay. So now we have cut an inflorescence. This should dry off, and hopefully down here this node will swell and will make another inflorescence with several more flowers for you to enjoy in the summertime. So to review, we cut Phalaenopsis inflorescences behind the original set of flowers, behind any other branching, and we cut them at an angle with a sterile instrument like a single-edged razor. We hope this will make them rebloom. It does maybe half of the time. This will not be able to be done in other orchid genera, but does work on Phalaenopsis.